Hello everyone, Ollie here and welcome back to another video here on the channel. This is the wrap up from week 4. A month has gone by, can you believe it? It's gone by so ridiculously quickly, but we'll jump right in. So Monday had a couple of highlights, the first of which I got my kind of double-sided ID badge holder thing. So I've got one for the university and then one for the NHS, which I will use. It's my like Coventry and Warwickshire NHS Trust card, but I have it on like a little slinky belt clip here, which was really generously given to me by my course mate Imtiaz, so thank you Imti. I also got a free waffle at lunchtime. It was a really nice waffle, but the weird thing was we went past it once. So in the union, which we went through at lunchtime on the Monday, there was like a stand giving out free waffles, and we thought, well, they'll probably want to talk to us about something and we don't have a lot of time, so we'll just miss it. But then we came back through and it looked quite quiet, so I thought, oh, I'll just go and see what it is they do want. They just gave me a waffle. They didn't want anything, so I got a really delicious free waffle. But then, probably in some sort of karmic retribution, someone else from a stand at the other side of the room came over and talked to me instead, so I did have to endure that, but I did get a waffle. What else happened? I can't remember whether I said in the last video or not, but on Sunday, so last Sunday when I was coming back on the train from Newcastle, my laptop inexplicably decided to stop working. So I rang HP customer support. They were actually really good, very helpful. Didn't seem convinced that the tip that they'd given me to try was going to actually work. They said sort of prepare to send it back to us, but thankfully the thing they told me to do did work, and now my laptop is fixed, which is really good because I rely on it for note taking. We also, in our CBL thing on Monday, we had a video shown of how to insert a catheter. Now, I don't know whether I'm alone in this or not, but I find, like, and to preface this, I'm not squeamish, right? Blood or viscera or other things I can deal with. I don't know what it is about catheters, but it's just the thought of a tube kind of being pushed through there. It just, like, I don't know, it makes me really uncomfortable. On Tuesday, we actually had our first community day, which I maybe spoke about before. So we headed down in the morning to Southam, which is a little ways, I think, southeast of Leamington, and it was a really nice place. We had to deliver our health profile presentation, and it turned out that Southam is not a particularly deprived area. It's quite wealthy, quite well educated group of people, but with an ageing population as well. So that was obviously quite relevant in terms of the NHS's general problem of an ageing population across the UK. So what we had to do essentially was walk around the town and kind of see what facilities and opportunities there were for the elderly population. So we were split into small groups, and we were given a sort of prompt patient. So we got, I think, this sort of 78-year-old woman who lived at this particular address that we had to go and find, and then we had to kind of make judgments about the situation she would find herself in and see what opportunities for activities and leisure, things like that. How would she be able to cope with having her condition? So I think she had mild dementia and osteoarthritis. What exercise could she feasibly do? Basically, how easy would it be for her to get around in this area? And I found that exercise really informative. Like, we were doing some reflection at the end of the day, and if I'd been given the chance, because basically what we'll be doing is going and interviewing patients in Southam about how they manage and cope with their conditions, how their conditions affect their day-to-day lives. And had you just said to me beforehand, either you can spend a day just kind of wandering around the town and doing an appraisal of the town, or you can go in straight away and start interviewing patients. Like, I'm pretty impatient, so I would have gone straight away for that interviewing process and kind of skip the wandering around. But actually going around and thinking about it from someone else's perspective, from the perspective of an elderly patient, it really did make it hit home that healthcare, it's not just a thing that happens in hospitals. It has to be delivered within the context of a society. And, you know, if if a particular operation, say, had been carried out on this elderly patient and she was bedbound, for example, or maybe had reduced mobility, that would massively affect her ability to do anything in Southam. So it was really good as an exercise just to go through that and think about it from someone else's point of view. We also did go for a pub lunch and a cheeky half at lunchtime, so that was really, really nice as well. I am gathering up this little collection of photos, and this is a point about my kind of blogging activities in general, right? The people in my year and in the older years definitely know about it now, the fact that I'm doing it, and it sometimes feels a bit weird to kind of ask, like, do you guys mind posing so I can take a picture, or can I just take a picture of what you're doing? But I'm actually really glad that I'm building up this little collection of pictures in the diary, because in 6 months, a year, 2 years, assuming I make it through the first year exams, I'll be able to look back and think and remember all these things. I think it'll be a really nice experience for posterity. On Wednesday, we were in for an 8 AM lecture on the kidney, which was just an experience. The guy that delivers the lectures, Jamie, he is a fantastic lecturer, you know, really, really good, but there's so much information to cram into a very short space of time, and the lectures are like a million miles an hour, particularly 8 AM, but he gave us Skittles and it was really, really wholesome. That morning I also met with some of the editing team, so I'm not sure whether you know yet, but I'm super happy that I got the Science Deputy Editorship for the Boar, whoop whoop, so I can be part of the editing community again. Being part of the Courier at Newcastle University was such a big part of my experience, and I absolutely loved it. It was maybe the best thing I ever did during my degree. So I'm really, really happy to be able to be part of that again. So I met some of the editing team and some of the writers. Everyone seems super chilled out and really, really friendly. So I'm really, really happy about that. That afternoon, we actually headed to George Eliot Hospital for another set of training sessions. This time we had our moving and handling training, which was basically like how to safely move patients using slip sheets and things like that, such that they're not damaged when you try to move them, or how to get people into a suitable position to perform CPR on them if they go into cardiac arrest. There was also a thing on generally like moving around yourself such that you don't damage your spine. What I took away from that was stay hydrated, otherwise your spine dries out and you die. It's a good tip. I remember we actually got there a little bit early, and so we went over to the hospital restaurant, and there was an amazing selection of ice creams, weirdly, for £1. So our foursome that had got there early, we all had ice creams, and that was really cute. And that day actually ended with an exercise where the nurse that was training us, we had to get her out of a chair. What you have to imagine is that someone was sat in a chair, like this one that I'm sat in, and they've sort of slumped over, having a heart attack, and you've got to get them to the floor. So we had to kind of manoeuvre the nurse out of the chair onto the floor. There was a bit of a drop, so she was kind of like banging onto the floor every time, and we felt really bad. But just to try and get some footage, which you'll see in a minute, me and Tom and a few other course mates, we tried to recreate it ourselves, and it's actually really, really difficult to try and fall out of a chair naturally, because you can anticipate what's going to happen.
It's
right, get in then, Luke.
Yeah, Luke, you
Right,
do it.
go on. Here, there you go.
Thanks.
Is it for me?
Yeah. Oh god.
Yay. You kind of tense up, and it means that you don't slump very well. So credit to the nurse and all the staff at George Eliot that have trained us. They've been exceptionally good. So Thursday came around, we started a new CBL case. This time it was a woman presenting with hypertension. And so we knew that was probably a kidney problem. If I just look at my notes, she was being managed with a drug called coamilazide. And there was also some notes in the prompts that we were given that she kind of wasn't having things explained to her very well by her doctor. She wasn't clear on why her medication had been changed, and she hadn't seen her regular GP. And so that was quite an important thing to think about. But this is the first time in a CBL case where we actually decided about halfway through that, sorry, I've just noticed my screens have gone off behind me, that we actually didn't know enough in the session about the anatomy and the mechanisms of the drugs and things involved to actually get that far. So we got kind of an hour in, did what we could, but we got a bit frustrated and sort of decided, look, we need to go away and actually have a look over this again. So I will be presenting some of the cell biology to do with the kidney and the action of the relevant drugs, basically on these particular ion transporters, because we could do the anatomy of the kidney and the nephron structures, but what we weren't clear on was which solutes are taken up in the kidney and what the particular transporters do without looking it up. So I'll be presenting on that actually tomorrow. That afternoon was also a bit interesting. We had another mindfulness session, which was interesting. I'm kind of weirdly fascinated with the practice. I've not read enough of the supporting papers to know much about how it's supposed to work, but it is a bizarre feeling you get after doing it. So I've been trying to do it every day. I've not managed to do it every day, but I will do it today before I go to bed. I'm going to try and have an early night tonight. It's currently 9 o'clock as of filming, but I will do my best. But the other thing that we had to do in that session was this class was called Learning to Teach. Basically, we had to teach someone else a skill that could be done in 3 minutes using this kind of 4-step model that we'd been provided. So when I realised on Wednesday night that I actually had no useful skills that could be taught within 3 minutes, I learned how to speed fold a t-shirt, which was a pretty crap skill. But my partner in the session taught me very well how to fold an origami crane, and I kind of kept getting to the last step and was not able to do it. But my teacher was really good. It was just that I was incompetent. So that was quite interesting. I also met that evening with one of the writers, or the people in charge of the Warwick Med School Review, which is like an annual comedy performance. And it's looking like at the moment I will be involved in some capacity with the show. I don't want to say too much about that right now, but I also will be doing some of the photography, and that's actually going to be next weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. Got my first article, I realised that night, printed in the bore as well. I wrote a piece on the statistics behind Tinder, which the dating app, which was really, really interesting as an investigation to do. I'll leave a link in the video description so you can go and read that if you want to. And then Friday, so that came around, we had anatomy in the morning, followed by radiography seminar, which I actually fell asleep in, I'm really ashamed to say. I've been weaning myself off the caffeine tablets, so I haven't been taking those in the morning. The radiography room that we get taught in, they have to turn all the lights off so we can see the projections properly, and it's also really warm because they close the door. I remember last week, I can confidently say, and I'm not kind of joking here, there were maybe 20 of us in the room. Last week, I reckon 10 were asleep, right? And I was like, why is everyone falling asleep? This week, within the first sort of 10 minutes, I felt myself start to nod. And it's genuinely not because it's boring or anything like that. I wanted to be there, I wanted to learn. The two lecturers that teach us are really interesting. I was just so tired, and I was out like a light, but thankfully they didn't pick on me, so I got maybe 20 minutes solid sleep before the person sitting next to me woke me up. But in the afternoon, we learned how to do a few more physical exam things. So we were doing abdominal exams, so that involved palpating, sort of pressing down like that on the abdomen, looking for enlarged structures, and also to percuss, which I'm maybe going to be able to demonstrate. Basically, you press, well, you could do it a number of ways, but I was doing it like this. So you kind of press this down on someone's abdomen and then strike the back of your hand, and basically you're listening for the resonance of the abdomen to tell whether there's something solid underneath, so it'll go between resonance and dullness. So that was really interesting. It was very hands-on. We had to kind of remove our shirts to do it. Apparently we were supposed to be warned about that. Not that I mind particularly, but I imagine for girls, particularly some warning would have been probably appreciated. And we also did auscultation, which is sort of using your stethoscope to listen for sounds. So we all just heard normal bowel sounds. So you might hear like tinkling noises or no noise at all if there's something wrong. So we learned how to do that. And the thing that I'm kind of finding with these clinical skills sessions is, particularly with the hands-on ones, that like you do your first one and it's really crap and you feel kind of stupid because no one's got any idea what they're doing. But I think with the clinical sessions, maybe more than any other area, you can tell from like the feeling in the room that everyone's really excited to be doing it. And I've spoken about this before, but I think what you would have to remember, and what I try to remind myself, is that it's this kind of hands-on clinic-based stuff that has drawn everyone to applying for medicine in the first place, because we all, or you know, particularly people that did a science degree, could have gone into research, you know, biomedical research, hypothetically, but chose not to do that. And it's this kind of thing that everyone clearly wants to be really good at and kind of do in their own way. And it's really inspiring, actually, to see people really going for it, really getting into the role play and trying to be as good as they can be at it. It's really cool to see. And yesterday, so Saturday, was the anatomy day, the first anatomy day run by the Surgical Society. And so basically there were stations in the med school, sort of in different rooms, sort of mini seminars basically. I think there were 20-25 minutes, something like that. And each station focused on a different bit of anatomy that we needed to know. So it might have been GI tract, liver, kidney, the blood supplies and lymph drainage for each, stuff that we need to know. But it was just, what was really cool about the day, I mean, the day was really, really useful in general. The slides were fantastic. The presenters, and I was going to say lecturers, they're all the students, but they were really competent. And that was the thing that I found really cool, was the fact that they were like 3rd and 4th year students, so not that much older than us, but they were so confident and they knew everything about what they were talking about. And it's really, again, inspiring to think that even in, you know, 2 years or whatever, we might be that confident with what we're talking about. Because for me, anatomy has been the thing that's like blown past me the most. It feels really overwhelming, the amount we need to know. But these guys, like, they know it all. And because they're students like us rather than lecturers, that just puts a different angle on it. And that was really interesting. And that brings us to today. And I mean, I've just kind of had a very boring domestic day. I've written up a load of notes from yesterday, have written out a load more Anki flashcards, and I'm basically just trying to get up to speed on my kidney anatomy so I can present tomorrow. I try to have one day in the week, just one of the weekend days, where I do comparatively less work. I've just been reading and just trying to relax basically, and kind of do meal prep and things like that. And now it's the evening, so I'm going to get this video edited. I've written a couple of articles, they'll go up, get the blog in order, and so I've got this to edit. Then I will probably eat again for more calories, do mindfulness, will exercise a bit, and then I'll go to bed. I did set myself a target of 10:30, but I don't think that's going to happen. But 11's the new target, just to help me try and get everything in. But that's it, guys, for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate these can be incredibly long-winded, but I'm very excited and I hope you're enjoying it. Thank you so much for watching. Please do be sure to hit that like button for me if you've enjoyed the video, because that tells me that you'd like me to keep making videos in this series. And please subscribe to the channel if you'd like to catch up with me every time I post a new one. It really does help. Take care of yourselves, guys, and I will see you next weekend. Bye bye.